Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a side-by-side camera comparison between the iPhone 6s and the Galaxy S6 Edge. Now when it comes to taking photos, we always go over the four main categories that I feel that most people want to know about. That is first low light, then details, then color reproduction, and of course we have to end with selfies. So let's start right into it. So the first picture we see here, this is the low light image. Right away you can see some really big differences between the iPhone 6s and S6 Edge. And with these two, really, the iPhone, it does not brighten the photo as much, but it does make it look, I would say, like artistically nice, but definitely does not get as much detail as where the S6 Edge definitely brightens the photo more, as you can see more of the apartment, but not as, I would say, artistically nice as you would want for an artistic shot. However, when we zoom in to see the photos, this is where we see some differences. So with the iPhone 6s, the detail just isn't as great as we would want it. The numbers are a bit visible, more so definitely compared to the iPhone 6 from last year, which honestly couldn't even get half of this detail. But this is where the iPhone 6s really stepped up, having definitely more detail in the light. Now, when we compare that same photo and zoom in to the S6, though, you can just see how much more detail and just how much brighter everything is. So you really just get the sense of everything. Just you have more detail in the shot, and you can see everything as clear as day. With those numbers being a lot more detailed when comparing it to the iPhone 6s shot, where it's in the dark and you just can't see it as clearly. So overall, for the low light performance, I would typically like the S6 Edge, especially since our low light photos are typically not in landscape, but they typically have more people in them. So for that purpose, I could see the S6 Edge definitely coming out ahead when comparing the low light between the two. Now in this next shot, we have a detailed photo. And for some reason, the Edge kind of under performed right here when it comes to light. It's a bit faded. So that's the first thing I noticed. But this is the detail photo, so let's focus on the details. Now right away, when we zoom in to the iPhone 6s, we notice a huge improvement from last year's iPhone 6. A lot better details when it comes to this. You can see the 4TB, the D3, the Sphero, BB8, easily BB8 right here. And all of the titles are pretty much legible, and especially the PS3 and PS4 sections of them. Now, when we do that same with the S6 Edge, we still see that same clarity, but I would definitely say it's still a little bit more so. The 4TB doesn't have as many jagged as well as the D3 as well. When it comes to the titles, again, very sharp 4, 3, and just all the titles seem to go very well. But this isn't more dramatically better compared to the iPhone 6s. So while I would say that overall a little few parts, the S6 Edge has it better like on the 4 and the TB and the D3, especially on the blue. It really seems to be a bit sharper. Overall, the details are pretty much on par with each other right now, which is a huge improvement again because the iPhone 6 just trounced last year compared to the Edge. So this is a huge improvement this year where the iPhone 6s definitely stepped it up when it comes to detail thanks to its higher megapixel count. And when we come to the color reproduction, again, the iPhone 6 always has one weird feature in it. And what is that weird feature? Well, the bottom right here, the carpet for some reason changes color on the iPhone 6. It's the only camera that does this. I'm not really sure why, but it's just a weird feature. Now, let's get to the actual color reproduction. So when it comes to these two, I think the color reproduction is, again, a lot better year over year on the iPhone 6s. You're getting a lot more accurate colors, and it definitely shows. And mainly when I point out, definitely the King of Tokyo one is almost identical. The purple's a little bit better on the edge, but again, just definitely blow for blow, each one is pretty accurate. Where it stands out more so at the edge is a little bit better in color reproduction, I would say, is in the whites and the blacks. Now let me specify these. So when we go to the iPhone 6 on here, a lot of these parts with the white part blends in and you can't see as much detail. However, when we go to that same part on the edge, you can see more of the details, more of the lines, more of just the main detail in those. You can see the hair right here. It just stands out more. Also, when it comes to the sheriff's glove. So on the gloves right here, they're kind of a grayish black, whereas on here you see more of a black, and the spikes give off more detail because it's true black. So those are the main things I noticed with color reproduction. Overall, both do very well color reproductions with all colors, but when it comes to actually having color and depth in the white and black, the Edge does edge out the 6S. And finally, the selfies. Now, the iPhone 6S upgraded to a 5 megapixel selfie, and we did get a bit better detail compared to last year. Now, this is one of the hardest photos, and only really this year have we seen phones complete it. And this is the underexposure left side, overexposure right side. Now, what I mean by that is last year the iPhone 6S had a lot more noise where you couldn't see any detail in the left side, and this was completely washed out and you couldn't see any of the railing. This year, as you can see, they corrected a lot of that, whereas you can see a lot of the railing and it's not as much noise or fuzziness on this side. However, when we compare it to the S6 Edge, three things stand out. First is obviously a much wider shot. You get so much more in the shot because it's a wide angle shot camera sensor compared to the iPhone 6S still having a just outdated narrow shot, which it just you can get so much more in. And again, this isn't any particular mode. This is just taking a regular selfie. You get so much more in the shot. It's just amazing when you really compare them side by side. The color reproduction is definitely a lot better though too at just handling the selfie, just the coloring, as well as of course handling the over and underexposure. You can see it's a lot flatter, not as much noise around the sides, and you also get a much better detailing in the railing, and just the overexposure doesn't hurt it as bad. So yes, overall, I would say the Edge is definitely going to be the better when it comes to selfie by far. So as we go through these again, low light is going to be the Edge just because it does have a better overall brightness and detail to its low light photos. The details overall, though, are pretty much dead even. I would, although the Edge does pick up sometimes better, honestly, the iPhone 6 has come a long way, so I would call this about even when it comes to details. When it comes to color reproduction, most colors are pretty accurate by both, but when it comes to the whites and blacks, the 6S definitely does a bit better job overall than the iPhone's 6S, or the S6 Edge does a bit better job than the 6S. And finally, when it comes to selfies, yes, the Edge is going to be the overall better one when it comes to taking selfies. You're going to want to go with the wider angle and just be able to take a better looking selfie. Alright guys, hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please give a like, thumbs up down below. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.